I was born and raised in a town called Rennes, which is located in western France, about 300 miles west of Paris. It was a town of 250,000 people. I grew up in a very humble family. My father worked for the French railways, and my mother stayed home to raise my brother and myself. I'm the oldest of two. We had not a lot of luxuries. My parents never had a car. My father didn't know how to drive a car, and my mother either. But we had everything that counted, everything we needed. And so we either walked to where we needed to go, or we traveled by train. And train in France was, in those days especially, was very well established, and with the railway stations everywhere, and we could go pretty much anywhere we wanted. I went to school, to an old boy Catholic school named Saint Helier. So it was a little bit more than junior high, but a little bit less than high school. My parents, by the way, didn't even go to junior high school, neither my dad nor my mother. After the first cycle of high school, I transferred to a vocational school where we to learn business, and I spent only 1 year there, and then I quit. I quit going because I didn't feel I was good at what I was expected to do. My grades were average, and I didn't really like that business school I was in, so I just told my parents I didn't want to go to school anymore. And not having gone to school themselves, they didn't think it was a necessity in those days, and they said, yeah, sure, you can go to work. So I started working in the postal service when I was 16. I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also called the Mormon Church, and I decided to serve a mission for my church. So I was called to go to Tahiti. I had never been on a plane before. So I left my hometown and to go to Paris with a small little suitcase, jumped on a plane, and about 24 hours later, I was on the island of Tahiti in French Polynesia in the South Pacific. Everything was different. The weather, the smell of the flowers, and everything else that I was not used to. Wonderful experience. I spent 2 years as a young missionary in Tahiti. Little did I know that I would have spent 13 years in French Polynesia. A wonderful experience. I went 4 times to the island of Tahiti, and I love the Polynesian culture. I love the Polynesian people. Wonderful experience. One of my friends who served the mission with me was American. And he said, Yves, why don't you come to school in the United States with me? And I said, hey, Bruce, I didn't like it in France. I was not very good at it. Why would I want to go to America? I said, I think you will like American schools. Try and come with me to the university. I applied, and surprisingly, I was accepted. I didn't know what I was getting into. So when you don't know what you're getting into, sometimes you don't have any fear. First time I went to register for classes at Brigham Young University, I took 24 hours, and I thought, well, most people work for 40 hours. Great, I can take 24. That's not even a full load. I didn't realize I had to study and write papers and do all kinds of other things. So the counselor told me, well, maybe you should take a little bit less. So I did. I lowered it down to 20 hours. And that was my freshman year. I had no college credit transferred, except I had served in the French Army, and they gave me 6 hours of military science and physical education. So with these 6 hours under my belt, I was able to continue, and I finished the 4 years of college in less than 2 years. There was a little bit of an incentive to go faster because during that time I got married, and together with my wife we decided to plan the future, and she encouraged me to go to graduate school.
He really had not been pushed by his parents or supported by his parents, and so he grew up thinking that he wasn't very smart, which I realized immediately that he was very smart and very capable of doing more. We could have both gone on and gotten a higher degree, but I felt like he was the one that needed to be able to support the family. So I pushed him to apply for graduate programs, and I worked and supported him while we did his graduate work. And it turned out to be the best decision we ever made.
I ended up applying to 6 universities and was accepted to all of them. I chose to go to Columbia University in New York. And I finished, so I got my bachelor degree from Brigham Young University, my master's in international relations from Columbia University. I picked up another master's in international education from Columbia University, and then my doctorate in international education from Columbia University. All of that from the time I left Brigham Young University to the time I finished my doctorate was about 3 years. The church asked me if I would want to go back to Tahiti to be in charge of the school system there, the church school system, and we accepted. Didn't even have to look for a job. I was given an opportunity. We took it, and by that time we had a young baby, our first daughter, and we went back to Tahiti, and we spent 4 years there to be in charge of the school system in Tahiti. And later on, the church asked me also to go back on a mission as a mission president for 3 years. So we went back to Tahiti, but in between I started working in records management, information management. So my career, first part was education. The second part was mostly information management before the computer system and with the computer system in place later on. And that allowed me to travel. I was responsible for the management of information for the world, basically, installing software and training employees all over the world. So I have been blessed, and I've had the opportunity to travel on every continent except Antarctica, and being able to enjoy a great opportunity to see and understand other cultures.
I had a great desire to spend time in Europe and always had an interest in traveling. When I met and married your grandfather, it was really exciting because we left our state of Utah. We went to New York City where he did his graduate work, and then we went straight from New York City to the islands of French Polynesia, which fulfilled that desire I had to visit the islands of the South Pacific. And we ended up spending over 10 years living at different times in the South Pacific, as well as inheriting a little cottage from his parents in France. And so we get to spend time on 3 continents, Oceania, Europe, and the United States. And then we also have traveled all over the world together. So it's been absolutely fabulous.
I got kind of arrested once in Africa. I got that out of that mess because they thought it was a French-speaking country, and I had an American passport. So the people who at the airport started talking to me in French and took me into a separate office and started talking to me in English. And I thought, I have things to do. I cannot stay there. I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I started responding to them in French, but the literary French, not the common French. And they were so shocked that they gave me my passport back immediately, and I was out the door within a few seconds. It was not scary, it was just uncomfortable.
The city of Jerusalem was absolutely spectacular, and I really came to understand that it's really the epicenter of human events for all three major religions, and that one little action in Jerusalem could start a world war. One of my very favorite places that I've been to is Easter Island, and it is the most isolated place in the world. It's hard to get to, and once you get there, you can't get a flight out for a couple of days. But it was incredibly interesting. We rented a little Jeep and we discovered it on our own. And of course, having lived many years in French Polynesia, it was really exciting to see what they call Rapa Nui.
I've traveled to almost 100 countries. I think I counted the other day, it was about 97 countries in the world, and many of them multiple times, like Japan or the Philippines or Germany, France, obviously, and then in Argentina and Brazil and all in South Africa, many countries, and I have enjoyed every single one of them, because every time I would go to a country, I tried to understand a little bit about their history, their culture, their habits, and everything that I could learn before leaving. And it has been a wonderful experience. My favorites, faraway places like Easter Island, also called Rapa Nui, with the mohais, the big statues. Machu Picchu would come to mind. Jerusalem, what a wonderful, incredible place with so much history. And Hong Kong with its markets and life, always something going in Hong Kong, and China or India. I could go on and talk about 97 countries and find something that has touched me, that has been positive, that I have enjoyed and appreciated. And I have friends in so many different countries that makes that even more interesting and alive even today, many years after I've been there. Japan with this incredible culture. I better stop because it's wonderful. What a wonderful world.